Well, first of all, I think this is about who is most qualified to be a champion for working families in this country. That's what this election is about. It's not about personalities. It's not about what someone looks like, or it's not about political gotcha moments. It's about policy. And I think what she's shown this week is she wants to go out one-on-one and make sure she is listening to the American people about their fears and frustrations. I think the way she's going about this campaign shows she's not interested in a coronation either.
You know, welcome back first to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Rick Unger, filling in for Steve today. He'll be back in action tomorrow. You know, listening to Senator McCaskill talk, I can't help but notice so far this campaign has been more about how Hillary behaves than about whatever issues Hillary has that she wants to talk about. I don't know, maybe that's because there's nobody on the Democratic side challenging Secretary Clinton. And maybe it's because during at least her first week of the campaign, she really didn't get too deep into the substance of what her campaign's going to be about. There were little bits here and there. As a result, she's really kind of opened the door for those on the other side of the Republican Party who were running for the office to really focus on Hillary and not on their own policies, not on each other. You know, you've got to say this is nobody's doing but Mrs. Clinton herself. You know, I have to say she did not do a good job in her rollout, and we're actually hoping to have Ian Tuttle join us shortly to talk about her rollout. She didn't do a good job. Look, we're in an age where anything that you do as a political candidate, everybody's going to know how you did it. You cannot expect to go out on the trail and say you're going to have impromptu meetings with the public. You can't say you're going to go walk into a restaurant and have a chat with whoever happens to be there. And when you go into that restaurant and you sit down with a person or two and you have a chat, we find out later on that that person had been vetted to have that chat with you, that it wasn't an accident at all, that they were picked, they were chosen. This is not the way you can do things in the year 2015, and it's not going to get you elected president in 2016. You know what else doesn't work? You can't ride your Scooby van through a driveway up to a community college to have another one of these alleged impromptu meetings. You can't drive past a collection of people, mostly seniors, some in wheelchairs, who have gone to the trouble of coming out to get a look at you, to get a look at Mrs. Clinton, and you drive right by them as if they don't even exist. This is what happened last week, and this is why I'm having enormous problems with the Clinton campaign. Look, these things will all be forgotten. Let's be honest. Most of the public gets interested in the campaign about 2 months before Election Day. It's a long time until the American public really begins to focus on this campaign. So if Hillary says something that's an exaggeration today, or she makes a boneheaded mistake, or she fixes or rigs a meeting in a diner, nobody's going to remember this. But you know what does stay? There's a campaign organization behind her. And that campaign organization doesn't seem to understand that we're all going to know when you do things this way. This is the way it works. So, you know, I think we have Ian Tuttle with us, and he's going to get into this a little deeply. Ian, now just so you know, Ian is the William F. Buckley Fellow with the National Review. It is National Review Day. This is, I think, our 15th guest from the National Review. He's a member of the National Review Editorial Board. He wrote a piece dealing with some of these issues last week called Hillary Clinton's Truman Show Campaign. Ian, glad we finally got you.
Yeah, glad to be here, Rick.
So I don't know if you had a chance to hear what I was saying. I was not pleased with the campaign so far.
Sure. Well, which part? All of it, I think.
All of it, yeah.
The sort of conceit of the piece, for those who might not remember, was the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, back in the late 90s or early 2000s, I think. Where he's living in a reality TV show and he doesn't realize it. Everything is meticulously crafted all around him. And the only difference is that Hillary knows it, and Hillary's been the one who has been constructing her own reality around herself for the better part of 3 decades. She has a whole team of fixers and flunkies who have essentially made her life
and yet it didn't work.
as easy as possible.
It didn't work in
Right.
2008,
Right.
so one wonders why they do it again. You know, I want to ask you this. Look, I don't know Mrs. Clinton. I do have friends who do know her quite well. Every single one of them tells me that if you meet and know Hillary in, we'll call it real life, she's a warm person, she has a great sense of humor, and yet she seems to go out of her way to keep that hidden when she hits the campaign trail. What does that say to you?
I'm not sure. I've heard that as well. I've also heard the opposite from people who are familiar with her. So I don't know what's true, but we can definitely say that she's not a natural politician. Her husband is a natural politician. He knows how to play the game, to make people feel. Famously said about him that he makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. That's certainly not the case with her, and part of that is I have to think that part of it's temperamental, obviously, and part of it is sort of the nature of what the ambition has done to her as a political animal. When you've been campaigning for this job for 30 years, you lose something. You inevitably lose something of a naturalness or an organic element.
You know what confounds me? The one thing any candidate can do, if you see a crowd of people who have come a long way just to get a glimpse of you, you can get out, say hello, and shake their hand. That doesn't take a lot of political charm or poise. It just says, I cared enough, I saw you there, I wanted to come and say hi to you, and then I have to go to my meeting. You think that was a security concern or something? How does she possibly explain that she couldn't do that?
Well, I think that would probably be the justification. I mean, the other possibility is that she just doesn't like to do it. We saw this with Obama in a slightly different way, where he could be very charming, but there was also
a remoteness.
A disdain too.
Ian,
as well.
I got to wrap you up. Unfortunately, we couldn't have you as long as we wanted because of tech problems, but we will get you back. Stay with us. Coming up next, Jonathan Gottschall joins us to talk about his book, Don't Go Away. You'll find it very interesting.